What is up, guys? It is your boy Royal Mech, and today I have a deck list. And if you saw the thumbnail and you read the title, you already know what it is. It's going to be my Royal Knight list. I've actually been working on this list for a little bit. It is definitely going to be a lot different than what people are aware of, and what they some bits are going to be what people don't normally do, especially one card, and then other bits not so much. Everything's going to pretty much be the same there, but I'm about to get ready into that, and I have this in a new setup form. So if you guys like the new setup for my deck list videos, let me know, and we will go from there. So let's get on to the deck list, and away we go. Alright guys, so for Royal Knights, like you already know, we run 4 copies of King Drazel. Now, he has the wonderful effect of breeding area. During your turn, all your Digimon can't Digivolve, which is important, right? The second ability is once per turn when a Digimon Royal Knight trait would be played. For his effect, for everyone, for this and everything in his raising pool, reduce the cost by 1 for all his inheritables plus himself. So 4 minus 1 for all the inheritables. So if you have all 4 of these there, it counts for a 7. As well as he has the ability at the start of your turn, he will, at the start of your turn during your main phase, you flip, and this goes for all of them, so we'll move this out the way. So start a main phase, he absorbs a Royal Knight, as well as you add 1 underneath to his raising, and this continues until you've run out of all of them. Now this is actually one of the best parts of the deck, because he has also the inheritable. When an option with the Royal Knight trait enters the battle area, you gain a memory for its inheritable. So once you have these on board, you gain 3 memory. Reason that's important is because the main option this deck runs, it becomes free played. So those are the eggs. On to the next part. Next, we're going to throw to the non-Royal Knight pieces. First, we're going to go into the non-Royal Knight Digimon, and then I'll move into Royal Knight Digimon, right? So first, we're playing 4 copies of Omegamon. This is one of the good boys of the deck. He's actually another one of the staple pieces that you should always run 4 of. I have seen people running 3, but I honestly feel 4. He has the on-play ability of draw a card, as well as the on Digivolution effect. When he is deleted, you may choose a Royal Knight from your hand, put it into raising. Virtually, he helps accelerate the adding of Royal Knights to his pool. After him, I play 3 copies of Sister Mont Blanc. This is the one from the Jesmon trial deck. It does have the ability of on play, discard a card, draw 2 cards, as well as during all turns, if you have a Huckmon or a Digimon with the Royal Knight trait, this gains decoy red-black. You really don't use it for the decoy, you use it more for the hand growth, but it's still a good card to use early, as well as that it can come back through other card effects, and it still works in tandem with other pieces. And then last, we play 1 copy of Sister Monsieur. She has the on-play, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add a Royal Knight or a Huckmon from among them, trash the rest. The other part, then it has the other effect of all your Royal Knights or Digimon Huckmon gain reboot. This is the best part, because if you don't kill on the Omnimon turn, this after you've done the whole process and everything else, this makes it so that your Royal Knights can get unsuspended and still be safe until the next turn, so they can't just be blown out the water. Next up, we're going to go into the 4-ofs. We're going to touch the 4-ofs first, and then I'll go into the 2s and 1s and all that, and then options. So, for the first set of 4-ofs, we play the big boss himself, 4 copies of the new Omnimon from BT13. He has 2 on-plays. His first on-play is on-play. You may have him just delete a Digimon. Any Digimon you want. He can delete 1 Digimon. But then he has the other on play, and you can only choose one of the 2. He has the effect of you may trash all your Yggdrasils in raising, and then call one copy of each Royal Knight in the raising area. So he virtually swarms the board, and then he also grants all cards on your field rush. Let me make sure I'm reading that part right. But if I remember correctly, it's all cards. Trash your Digimon in the breeding area, and all your Digimon gain rush for the turn. So all Digimon. So this means if you have Sistermon on board, they all also gain rush. If they enter the board somehow, they also gain rush. It's just wonderful. This card's incredibly strong. Next up, the other four of, we play 4 copies of the new Magnamon. Alright. This is actually a pretty good boy. This Magnamon has 2 effects. One effect is when it's deleted, you may play, he is a blocker. Sorry. He has one effect where he is a blocker. He is technically the main blocker of the deck without any additional effects being played into the factor of. But he also has the effect of when he leaves the battle area, so being through Yggdrasil's effect, deletion, bounce back, deck tuck, all the ways you can think about him leaving the battle area, he makes you draw a card. He's honestly the first card you want to play in this deck. Because on your first turn, Yggdrasil reduces for 5. This is a 7. 5 minus 7 is 2. Easy play. You always want to play this as soon as possible. That's why you run it at 4. Next up, we play 4 copies of Dynasmon. Another main 4 of. This boy is your main searcher of the deck. He also has that's his first ability. So on play, he looks at the top 4 cards of your deck. You can choose 2 Royal Knights from among them, add them to hand, trash the rest. He has the second ability, which is actually fun to use at times. Once per turn. Sorry, not once per turn. It's just during your turn, when another Royal Knight enters field, kill all your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. This effect is nuts. If timed right, it does amazing things. One option in Royal Knights of the Purge works really well with this card, especially if this is what you hard played, or this is what you soft played and then hard played other stuff. Because he just gets to sit there and like, oh, hi. I'm just going to keep doing stuff and wipe your board at the same time. Really good on its own. You will definitely want to play this as a 4. Next up, we're going to the 3 ofs. These are, to me, also very important cards, but because spacing is so tight, you can't play any more than 3 because more 4 ofs just get clunky. So first up, the next big face of the deck, the Master of All. We play 3 copies of Genkumon. He is another blocker. But he's also one of the second best cards in this deck, in my opinion. He has the on-play effect of the effects on-play and Digivolve, which a lot of these Royal Knights have, because they also could be played in other decks. But we all know they're mostly here for the Royal Knight deck, tribal deck. So on play or on Digivolve, you may play a Royal Knight from Raising, or a Sistermon from your trash. And their on-play effects will activate. However, he cannot target himself or Omnimon. Yeah, they had to at least keep him fair somewhere. So, he can't touch Omnis and himself, but still, he can pull out a card from back in Raising that act in your Raising that has a good effect that you kind of want to use this turn, but you don't want to burn a turn and not have protection. He does good work there. During the late game, that effect actually gets nuts, and it just causes problems. Speaking of late game causing problems, I played 3 copies of the new Jesmon. So, the new Jesmon has the ability, on play and on Digivolve, you may delete all your opponent's Digimon up to the DP total of 6. However, for every other Royal Knight and Sistermon on the board, the increase is actually by 2 for each. So, on play it's a 6. After that, for every other Royal Knight or Sister on the board, it goes up by 2. Now, if you play this with on the Omnimon turn, you're looking at probably 4 or 5 other Royal Knights on the board, so that's about 8. So that's 14. It's can hit almost everything on a person's board up to 2 or more cards, or can just hit one big problem child. But then he becomes another issue because he has the ability that during all players' turns, for every other Royal Knight or Sistermon on the board, all your other Royal Knights and Sisters gain 1,000 DP. So with a full board, about 4 or 5 Royal Knights, 1 or 2 Sisters with that, you're looking at this boy being a good, on his own, he's looking at good 17. But then everyone else is also gaining these powers. So against DP reduction, they're going to be pretty stacked and not being feeling any pain. I primarily love him for his destruction ability, but that power buff, if you can get it off, it's just nuts because they can't risk blocking anything. Most destruction abilities pretty much just watch this die. Then we play the next important piece of the puzzle. We play 3 copies of Leopardmon. He has the on play and the Digivolution effect of you may once per turn on Digivolve or during your main phase, you may go ahead and play a green Digimon or a Royal Knight for -4 cost, right? So this also helps reduce to speed up that Omnimon play as soon as possible. Primarily, I like to use it in combo with Genku to help make a wider board of protections primarily. So I pull him out with Knights of the Purge, play a Genk to make Genku cheaper on the play, to pull out probably another Dynast, or replay out Magna to get some more defensives on the board to just slow my opponent down. This card is really good also because when a Royal Knight is played, all your Royal Knights gain blocker, as well as all your green Digimon gain blocker. So this guy alone literally turns your entire board rush into blockers, which is why that Sistermon Seal is so good with this. And then last for the 3 ofs, we play the new True Leader of the Knights, the original. We play 3 copies of Alphamon. This Alphamon's really good because it has two reasons to exist. One, it can be an attacker for you for at least a turn, and then the other factor it slows down. What I mean by slows down, it has the ability of on play and on Digivolution, you may choose a Royal Knight or a card with the X antibody from your trash, and with the X antibody trait, and put it underneath him. And then for that turn, all your opponent's Digimon with a 10 play cost or higher cannot swing. Then he has the ability, during all turns, if he would leave, you just trash the Evo source. This also plays an effect with Draysel, because if Draysel were to remove him, he can just get rid of the source and stay on board. There you go. Now you have a free attacker. On to the 2 ofs. Now, I know a lot of people would have thought this was at a 3 of. I reduced it to 2. Gallantmon, the new Gallant. So he has some really good effects. His main effect of his cost reduction for 2 for every 5 in both players' trash when you don't have any Digimon on play. Keyword, no Digimon that can be in play for that cost reduction. Is really good because it's helpful, because then his on play and on attack effect kicks into play, where on play on play or on attack, he can delete a Digimon with 6k DP or less, and if that didn't happen, you can kill a Digimon with 13k DP or more. If I remember correctly, it's 13, nothing more, nothing less. Yeah, it's 13. So, can hit for 13 or more. So, it hits almost everything and almost nothing. But the factor of he also has Rush, so his on play will always go off, just makes things so much easier. And him at 2 is honestly better than more, because he honestly, for me, was clunking at 3, and I think 2's just the right number. It's high enough to where you should possibly see it, low enough where it doesn't clog the hand. Next up, I play 2 copies of the new O-Force Vidramon. So, O-Force Vidramon has the effects of on play and on Digivolution. He can, for every Royal Knight on the board, including himself, remove 2 Evo sources from opponent's Digimon. Which is really nuts, depending on when your board state is, because this can actually get rid of a lot of problem children. Then once per turn, when a Royal Knight enters the board, if your opponent has a Digimon with no evil sources, you may bounce that card back to hand. Right. And that is a nuts because it still counts himself as well. So his on play is virtually for this being the only board in field, his effect technically states on play reduce 2 evo sources from an opponent's Digimon, and then if it has no evo sources, bounce it back. This card at 2 is really good. I appreciate it. It actually wins me a couple of games and keeps people slow. After him, we got 2 copies of Craniumon. So Craniomon's another blocker, which is good. He does have the ability on play and on Digivolution. He is not affected by any card effects. He's pretty much impenetrable. Like the Unbreakable Shield, he is. And then he has the effect at the end of your opponent's turn. Make sure I'm giving you that right one. Yeah. At the end of your opponent's turn, you force them into an attack. You can force one of their Digimon to attack. Why this is good is because you can force him to make them the block. And forcing your opponent to have to block is just nuts and funny. And so he could force any of your opponent's Digimon to block. And if this is like literally during like early game, if this is out early enough, you can get rid of major problem children early, and so forth. Next, we play 2 copies of Lord Knight. She has the on play and on Digivolve. You may pick a Royal Knight or a Lucimon from your trash, add it to hand. And then once per turn during opponent's turn, when your opponent's Digimon attacks, you gain memory equal to you gain 1 memory equal to the number of Royal Knights on your board. So this on board by itself, you gain 1 memory when they attack. The more Royal Knights, you can honestly end your opponent's turn literally by just saying, "You attacked, you're out. You put me to 1. Thank you. Bye." Good card. Only really can put at 2. You can run it at 3 if you want. You honestly would just want to flip. You would most likely just flip placing with the Jesmon. Now to our one-ofs. First up, we play 1 copy of the Kentorismon. So Kentorismon is really cool. On play and on Digivolve, if you and your opponent both have in total 6 or less life, you may reveal a yellow Digimon in your hand and put it into your. So on play on Digivolve, you may reveal a yellow Digimon from your hand and put it on top. Then if it is a 6, then if you guys are at 6, actually let me read it the right way. 6 or fewer total cards, both player security stacks gain 3 memory. Sorry. So at first you gain 3 memory if you both are at 6. So you literally can play this for its discount, reduce cost, and then gain some extra memory back. And then you reveal a yellow card in your hand, and you can put it on top of your securities to gain a life back. Then he has the ability of once per turn at the end of his attack, trash the top security to then unsuspend, and if you do, your opponent's Digimon loses 6k. Really strong card. Really like it. I wouldn't change anything for the world for this card, but there is really only 1 space for it. And correction, not 6, it's 7. Then we play 1 copy of the BT12 Gallantmon. He's just there to help trash and deal with border control. He does have rush. That's primarily the only reason you're really using him is for his rush and his on attack, where he can get a security trash if he wasn't able to trash a Digimon. Which you honestly shouldn't be able to trash any Digimon, because your opponent's board is pretty much empty, because they died through the security. Next up, I got 2 more pieces. 2 more of our Royal Knights. First, we play 1 copy of Examon. Next, we play 1 Examon. He has the on play. You choose one. He has the on play and on Digivolve. Choose one of your opponent's Digimon. Suspend it. It does not unsuspend during their next turn. Then there's the other effect of once per turn during all players' turn. If a Digimon suspends, I may choose to unsuspend a Digimon or suspend another. So virtually, If he's on the board with a blocker, with you having a blocker and your blocker blocks, you can then unsuspend your blocker again thanks to him. He's really good board control. You only play him at 1. I've hit him like twice, but he's still a Royal Knight, so I'd rather have more toolbox options where I can. So he stays at 1. He's a really good card. I have not had complaints with him. Last Royal Knight of the deck, we play 1 copy of the original Omnimon X Antibody. And yes, he is a Royal Knight, so he does count. So what you get to do with him is virtually, we don't care about the I can stop attacks. We care about the when I swing, I delete something weaker than me. With the effect of Royal Knights of the Purge, this is another good card just for board control. And honestly, I prefer playing this over playing another copy of the Gallant, because this can definitely help. Plus, if it gets to the point where after you Draceled and you draw into this, you can just Digivolve him over you can Digivolve him over Omnimon, and then still do the fun stuff, but you cost less to do it. So by himself, he's good. With Omnimon, with the new Omnimon, he's just freer shortcut. Because once Dracel's gone, you can Digivolve. And he's a little more sustainable than playing the GX engine. Next up, we go into the options and tamers. We play 4 copies of Royal Knights of the Purge. This, honestly, is one of the lifebloods of the deck, along with all the Royal Knights you've seen. It has the effect, main on play, draw 1 card, and then you add a Royal Knight from your hand to your raising area. Then on its standby, its delay effect is you may get rid of it and choose a Royal Knight and you're raising and play it. It has Rush. But the on-play effects do not activate. And then the security effect, you just play it, but you do not get any of the effects. So it's just there. It's still a very useful card. You play 4, you want to see it. And this with Dracel is honestly at full strength Dracel. This plays for 3 and not 6. If you have to play it any earlier, I would honestly wait until at least your second turn to do it, because then you at least get to play this at 4 instead of burning a full 6 cost to do it. But if you got to do it, you got to. And then last but not least, my last 2 cards of the deck, I play 2 copies of the BT13 Marcus. This card is here primarily just to help deal with floodgates, as well as it's a memory tamer, so you don't have to worry about getting completely choked at 1 every turn, to where everything you do completely just ends the turn. If I had the spade, if I had 1 extra, I'd probably play a 3rd, but 2's been working out well for me. I've seen it, as well as I have seen them proctor off in security. Well, that is the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy. I definitely enjoy this deck. It's not as expensive as people thought. You honestly can get this deck pretty cheap. The only real problem, children, is the Omnimon and the new Omni and the new Gallantmon. You could just sack 1 Gallant. You only really need 1. Excuse me. You only really need 1 Gallant. 2 is that really nice sweet spot. Any more than that, you're just being excessive. But this has been the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, tell me if you like the new positioning I have for the video, where with this more over the head look compared to what I have done with it. And yeah, so that's it again, guys. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Comment other decks you want to see in the caption in the video down below. I will get those out if I have access to them, be it through myself or my friends, and we will get those out to you. So once again, this has been Royal Mech. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Later!